All right. Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back, guys. We're in Priest, and we are now going to see the opposite of what happens in Paladin, which is what happens when Blizzard buckets everything correctly. And you will have a very unexciting time drafting as Priest, and Priest will be not terribly powerful because Blizzard did not put all the good cards like 3 buckets lower than they should.
Yeah. This is going to be a very accurate and fair class reveal. So it's going to be a very Resident Sleeper. Anyways,
first card.
We're going to in the 4th bucket.
Yeah, so that tells you how good of the cards that Priests are getting.
I know, sad. We have Omega Medic, 3 mana for 3/4 battle cry. If you have 10 mana crystals, restore 10 health to your hero. It's good. 3 mana 3/4 is already just good. Here's the thing though, with all the other Omegas, you get a huge amount of stats on the board, right? Or Omega Assembly, you get a huge amount of value. Here you get a lot of face heal, which is nice in some games, but altogether, face heal is just not as important. So, is this a good card for the bucket? Yeah, it's one of the higher cards within this bucket.
You can move this up like a bucket, or maybe even 2, and it would be fine.
Right, but it's definitely not a card that we think is severely misbucketed.
It's like slightly underbucketed.
Slightly, yeah, just a little bit, but it's good. You'll take it because it's good for its bucket.
Okay. Next card. Extra Arms. Extra Arms is a little bit more underbucketed. This is probably the only one you're going to get like significant value out of. It's 3 mana, give a minion +2/+2, add more arms to your hand that gives +2/+2. More arms is also 3 mana.
Yeah, you basically double this twice. And by the way, we're talking about the 5th bucket now.
Yeah.
Let's always make sure we establish where we are.
Okay, so it's a pretty low bucket. And what's great about this card is that +2/+2, when you have something on the board and the board state matches up, which it does more often than not, really means like kill something and save your minion. And then as a priest, if you have 3 more mana, you can give another +2/+2 because you have the additional arms that are coming in. If you have 2 mana, you can heal up your minion because you can do that. So it's a very flexible kind of card.
Yeah, it's just really good. We've seen this before. Like, you don't exactly love 3 mana for just 2/2, but man, it just works for Priest.
Yeah.
And you get another buff as well. Definitely really good for 5th bucket. Like, this is good. You're gonna draft this card because it's extreme value for a 5th bucket pick.
More 5th bucket picks. This is decent value too.
Yep, Dead Ringer, 2 mana for a 2/1 Death Rattle. Draw a Death Rattle minion from your deck. It's fine. It's a specific draw. You need Death Rattles, but you're gonna have a couple of Death Rattles in your deck. You're just afraid of that time in which it, you have no more Death Rattles, right? That is gonna suck. But it's also a mech, so it has a little bit of bonus there. It's okay. It's appropriately bucketed.
Where's Loot Hoarder? Loot Hoarder's in the 6th bucket. This is a bucket higher. Loot Hoarder is also one of the top cards in the 6th bucket. But yeah, like, it's fine. Nothing terribly exciting there. Let's look at the next card. Topsy-Turvy, 83 in the 5th bucket.
Yep. So Topsy-Turvy is a 0 mana spell. They love giving 0 mana spells to Priest. Swap a minion's attack and health. You get the Crazed Alchemist effect for 0 mana. It's fine, right? It's fine. It's just a small card, but you can extract value as Priest in other ways. And this is a way for you to change up the board, for you to add damage or do something to the board. It's fine. It's not one of the best cards, but it's absolutely fine for a 5th bucket pick.
Yeah, I mean, don't take it too often, but like, no. If you need like some tempo things, like, go for it. Priests have like weird removal-y things, right? right? So this lets you get it in range of some of your
Yeah.
other removals, and it lets you get an extra damage or two. And sometimes you need it, and priest does they don't do extra damage or two very well.
So once again, this is in the 5th bucket. We'd be okay if this were demoted, but it's not super egregious. So it just ends up being one of the
One of the worst cards.
cards in the 5th bucket.
Here's another one of the worst cards in the 5th bucket. Power Word Replicate. Choose a friendly minion, summon a 5/5 copy of it. I would put this in the last bucket, but that's just me. You can't play it on turn 5 unless you have a minion on the board, and turn 5/5/5 is not really that great. Oh yeah, this is 5 mana. Later on in the game, you can get a 5 mana 5/5 kind of whenever, which is fine. What you really want to do is get some death rattle value or some ability value, but you got to have that. It's got to be on the board. It's got to be played on the same turn, or it's got to live. It's going to be difficult to get value out of this card. Not saying it won't happen, but it's probably not worth the 5 bucket.
Yep. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the 6th bucket. And here we have Reckless Experimenter. Reckless Experimenter is a 5 mana 4/6. Death Rattle minions you play cost 3 less, but die at the end of the turn. So we think this is appropriately bucketed, within the 6th bucket. I know some people really like this, like for example for Constructed, but here it is an understated minion. 4/6 for 5 is slightly understated, and also it's nice that the Death Rattle minions cost less, but overall this is not a good ability within the arena. Like you do not want to just play minions and have them die, even if they're cheaper. It's just not something that
You're
want.
Still losing your card advantage, right? Like you may get some tempo out of it depending on the size of the minion. Like you want to play it with something like a mechanical belt, right? And you get the tempo out of it, but you really need that tempo. Like, is that worth the card advantage? Who knows? It's not really a positive ability.
Yep. Okay, so that is Reckless Experimenter. Next, we're going to the real winners here. Bucket number 7, last bucket.
Cloning device. Discover a copy of a minion in your opponent's deck for 2 mana. We love these. Like we usually rate discover a cards pretty high, right? That's no secret. Our tier list likes these cards. They're like you're able to use it strategically when you need an answer, and you're able to find your answer, and you need to know when to anti-tempo and all those good strategic stuff. Cloning device costs 1 more mana than it should, and you can only get a minion. Like this is it's not good. It's not terrible. We rated at 88. That's totally like a pickable card for the 7th bucket. But just know that you're not really getting a deal out of this card. You're like overpaying for what it does.
All right, and lastly, we have Test Subject. Test Subject is a 1 mana 0/2 with Death Rattle. Return any spells you cast on this minion to your hand. It's not good. We have it rated as 57, which is
what? But you can get endless arms.
You could get endless
extra
arms. Yeah. So look, it's too small. You can buff it with some stuff, but you really, it's a pure combo thing, right? And otherwise, you just can't play it. It takes up a card. It's way too small.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Priest, you don't really have a lot of good buffs on O2s. Like, you need to inner fire this to do anything. Otherwise, what are you buffing it? +2/+2, right? Like, +0/+2. Like, I don't know. That's not really getting you very far with this stat distribution, even.
Yeah, power word shielding that thing is not doing a lot, right? Yeah. So you really just have to buff the attack with the elixir or with extra arms, and that's pretty tough to do. Your deck is not like overwhelmed with all of these buffs here, so Test Subject sucks.
Okay, so that's Priest. If we didn't sound excited talking about it, because it's not very exciting. This is like a pretty crappy expansion for Priest. No like removals coming in. You have one buff that's like good, but like just normally good, not like a premium. You have some minions that are like playable but not great. The Omega Medic is probably going to be the card that's going to make the most difference, especially when you're facing a priest, because you have to know that it's like it exists, right, and that it is slightly under bucketed, and that people will want to pick the new Omega cards. So if you ever get to turn 10 and you're an aggro deck, like watch out, right? They've had the whole entire game to draw into this. So it definitely changes the way that you play against Priest. It makes you a lot faster, or you gotta like actually try to play for some like card advantage and board and stuff like that. It is a game changing card. So this is where Priests are at. Other than that, I'm not very excited about anything.
Yep. Alrighty then.
All right, let's finish off with the legendaries.
Let's talk about the Priest legendaries. Okay. First, within the second bucket, we have Xerx's cloning, or actually, let's just talk about the guy himself, right? Let's talk about Xerx Master Cloner, also in the second bucket. 6 mana, 5/5, Death Rattle. If you've cast any spells on this minion, resummon it. It's fine-ish. Like
you can trigger it pretty frequently. There's a decent number of spells that are cast on it, and unlike the test subject, it makes a difference to cast it on a 5/5 body.
Right.
And unlike the test subject, getting an extra 5/5 body is usually a lot better than getting, like, on the board is usually a lot better than getting your card back.
Right.
So, you know, it does stuff, but it's not, like, you wouldn't take it over a normal curve card or anything like that. It's still, like, anti-tempo.
Right. And you have some decent legendaries in here as well, right? You can take, like, a Hoarder. Hoarder is pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
Next, we have the legendary spell, Xerx's Cloning Gallery. This thing we have at about a 105, which is like fair within this tier as well. So both of the priest legendaries are fair for being the second bucket. Xerx's Cloning Gallery is summon a 1/1 copy of each minion in your deck. Now, at first, I was just like, this doesn't do much, right? 9 mana for like maybe 7/7 worth of stats. But you look at the number of death rattles that are in people's decks right now. You look at the number of death rattles, of poisonous, of divine shield, and how good those death rattles are. And you're just like, this is decent. Like, this is actually somewhat decent. Because you're going to have like stuff that draws you cards, right? Death rattles that draw you cards, death rattles that give you dragons, death rattles that like just pull stuff from your hand, pull stuff from your deck. And, you know, are you going to have like the basilisks? Are you going to have like the gastropods? Yeah, it all adds up, right? Like, you're not going to just have vanilla minions in your deck. And that's what makes this card somewhat decent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, it's not going up against the Lich Kings. It's not going up against Ysera. It's going up against like Malygos or Hagar, right? These are not great legendaries here. It's going up against like Leroy Jenkins, Harrison Jones. So you might not think too highly of it, but I don't think too highly of these other legendaries as well.
All right, well, that's it for Priest. Huge shout outs again to all of our viewers, all of our listeners, all of our people who are watching us on YouTube on the next day. This is Adwicta, that is Merps, we are the Grinning Goat, and we love doing this arena content. So definitely let people know about us, and you know, check us out on our various medias. The tier list we keep referring to is the Lightforge tier list at thelightforge.com. And what else? Should we plug anything else? Thank you to everybody who supports us.
Thank you.
We will be right back with Rogue on the next episode. All right, 11. Bunny's being hyperactive.